Daniel. In the scriptures we read of covenant, sacred bonds meant to protect and provide. But what happens when that covenant is broken? When the very hand that should nurture becomes the hand that wounds? This week we discuss betrayal. This is my story of a father's abuse. The scriptures speak of a father's love, a love that reflects the divine. But for me, that love turned perverted, twisted into a weapon of control and pain. It was like a thorn in the flesh, a constant reminder of the brokenness. The words meant to build up became stones hurled in anger. The hand meant to guide became a rod of correction. It was a perversion of the very foundation of family, a violation of the sacred trust between a parent and a child. Like the prodigal son, I yearned for a father's love, but only found emptiness and pain. I was about 6 when my mom remarried. I came to adore my stepfather, who played with us and let me hang out with him in his workshop while he turned wood into beautiful furnishings. I don't remember how old I was when he started hitting my mom, but I made it my job to keep me and my little sisters out of the way. He was transferred here to Corpus when I was 14, and shortly after we arrived, he began lashing out at me, verbally and physically. Unlike my mother, I always fought back. I was 16 the last time he hit me. That day I ended up in the ER with a concussion and a scar I can still see daily. But he also carries scars from that day. I wrestled with feelings of shame and guilt. The weight of his betrayal felt like a stone around my neck. I felt like a lost sheep, scattered and vulnerable, searching for a shepherd who was not there. The emotional wounds ran deep, left scars that felt like they would never heal, and I carried them around for way too long. My mom remarried when I was 20, but I wanted nothing to do with another abuser. So I got myself married and out. Of course, I only knew how to pick the bad ones and put myself and my kids through more than one abusive marriage. Sadly, I repeated many of the same mistakes in choosing men because, you do what you know. My kids were never harmed, but they witnessed it for me. It took a long time, and finally, the man my mom married when I was 20 to see beyond my experience with men. I had to forgive them all. Although it took over a decade, the man I call my dad today is an amazing, kind, and loving man, and he taught me how to trust men again. When I met Jesus on a Good Friday 16 years ago, I began to look outward for healing. Like David, I sought refuge in prayer, seeking solace and strength. Like the woman at the well, I sought living water, a source of healing and restoration. I sought counsel from those who understood, like the disciples seeking guidance from Jesus. I learned that healing was not about condoning the abuser's actions, but about finding peace within myself. It was about reclaiming my own narrative, about rewriting the story of my life. God brought the most amazing man into my life shortly after this. Not surprisingly, it took my family a long time to believe I'd finally gotten it right. But today, he is loved by all, and our grandgirls will only know a loving Grammy and Grampy. I ran into that stepfather at a meeting in 2012, shortly before he died. He looked old and sad, still carrying 3 scars on his arm that I had left him so long ago. I attended his funeral for my youngest sister, but cried for myself and for the loss of family torn apart. The path to redemption was not easy, but it was possible. It was about building a new covenant within myself, a covenant of self-love, self-compassion, and self-forgiveness. Like the rebuilding of the temple, I began to rebuild my own inner sanctuary. I set boundaries like the walls of Jerusalem, protecting myself from further harm. I learned to trust again, to find strength in vulnerability, to embrace my scars as a testament of my resilience. Like the mustard seed, faith grew within me, a belief in my own capacity to heal and thrive. Like the prodigal son returning home, I have found a different kind of home within myself.